Hi everyone, welcome back to Coffee, Books, and Rain. I am Rachel with my coffee and my new mug that I picked up while I was at Dragon Con over the past weekend. Now, I probably missed a day or two here and there just simply because I did not get to record the way I thought I was going to, but I do have quite a few to get through today as far as recording goes. So we're going to try to work our way through it with our coffee, with our books and our reviews. And the rain has already passed, but that's okay. We can still check in with each other and see how things are going. But today's book is going to be Madeline Martin. That's the author. The Secret Book Society by Madeline Martin. So now I will tell you that when I first picked this book up, I thought that I recognized the author, but it was Madeline Miller who was in my mind, who has written several books as well. Madeline Martin, I don't believe I am as familiar with. So, but this book was very good. Still glad I picked it up. I'm always here for books about book clubs, especially when it comes to kind of secret, almost sneaky-ish book clubs. And so there you go. That's why I picked it up. Now, it is considered historical fiction, and I can certainly imagine that women of the time were probably not living, I guess, the type of life that women of our time are currently living, which means that we have more freedom to do what we want to do in a lot of different situations. But I think you'll understand once I start reading the summary. A captivating new historical novel from Madeline Martin, set in Victorian London about a forbidden book club, dangerous secrets, and the women who dare to break free. You are cordially invited to the Secret Book Society. London, 1895. Trapped by oppressive marriages and societal expectations, three women receive a mysterious invitation to an afternoon tea at the home of the reclusive Lady Duxbury. Beneath the genteel facade of the gathering lies a secret book club, a sanctuary where they can discover freedom, sisterhood, and the courage to rewrite their stories. Eleanor Clark, a devoted mother suffocating under the tyranny of her husband, Rose Wharton, a transplanted American dollar princess struggling to fit the mold of an aristocratic wife, and Lavinia Cavendish, an artistic young woman haunted by a dangerous family secret. All are drawn to the enigmatic Lady Duxbury, a thrice-widowed countess whose husband's ultimate deaths have sparked whispers of murder. Ooh. As the women form deep, heart-warming friendships, they uncover secrets about their marriages, their past, and the risks they face. Their courage is their only weapon in the oppressive world that has kept them silent, but when secrets are deadly, one misstep could cost them everything. So, it is a book about books, historical fiction, and it says fantasy, but I really don't think, with regards to what the word fantasy connotates, this is not a fantasy book. This would be fiction, and specifically historical fiction. I do not see any magic or magical realism that would lend towards a fantasy genre. So I'm just going to go ahead and give you that thought of mine, because when I saw fantasy, it just does not fit in my personal opinion. And so I do think we could find, maybe we could call it feminism. That might be because it is these four women, trying their best to kind of have a friendship, have a bond, read when reading it's not, I wouldn't say it's fully frowned upon, but it's not encouraged either. The women's place is meant to be, like mothers and, women of society, but they're not really, books don't do them any favors. It gives them too many ideas. So, Lady Duxbury, she is kind of the leader of this circle, and I don't 100% know and maybe I just missed it in the beginning part of the book, why she chooses these three women to join her. Perhaps that was just a part that I accidentally, I don't want to say glossed over, but that potentially. But she does invite these women. I guess she had met them in society and had at least knowledge of who they were and their proclivities to want to read. Eleanor Clark, she is a young mother. She's the only one, at least at this particular time, who currently has a child. And her husband is awful. I want to say he is the most brute of a man possible. DV is definitely something that she is suffering from, but women of the time pretty much just have to accept it because there is constantly this threat of being sent to an asylum for pretty much hysterics, and yes, I do put that in quotes, hysterics for just having emotion, like opinions, feelings. All of these things could potentially get them thrown into some sort of sanitarium, or is it sanatorium? I don't remember if it's sanitarium or sanatorium. Well, we'll have to look that up later. But so that's constantly looming overhead. Eleanor's husband is absolutely the type of person who would do that, and so she fears for her son. She wants to try to get him away. And so by joining this book club, like, she has convinced her husband that, well, it's not a book club, that it is just afternoon tea with some ladies of high society. It helps with her status in society because, of course, she's going to be more well known and she'll get more invitations to things. So it's good for him if she goes. However, he does not fully understand that this particular secret society is it's less about gossip, but more about finding a sense of freedom in herself. Because Lady Duxbury seems to know, she seems to be very intuitive, that Eleanor Clark is suffering at the hand of her husband. And so Lady Duxbury allows Miss Clark to read her own personal journal, the journal of her three husbands. And so that's how we get the story of Lady Duxbury's three husbands. So then we dive into her backstory a little bit in kind of piecemeal makes it sound terrible, but as the chapters progress, we get a chapter in between every once in a while. That is a page from Lady Duxbury's book or her journal. And so first we have the first husband, who is very tyrannical and not a good person, but she, Lady Duxbury, had a lover previously. His name was Elias, and so she was with child, and she tried to send a message to him. She thought her love was spurned, and she went ahead and married this guy that her family wanted her to marry. He was a terrible, terrible person, and Lady Duxbury's husband dies. Oh no, now she's a widow. But she suffered, and it was bad, and so now she's single. Well, now she also has a child, and now she's one husband down, one child up. And so she has to get married again pretty quickly. Her husband did not leave them with anything. And we also learn fairly quickly that this second husband does not like the child. So now this could potentially be a spoiler, so if you don't want to listen to this, don't listen to the next minute of this. So spoiler. Lady Duxbury's son passes away because her husband, her second husband, and so not the child's father, decides to pretty much lock him outside of the house in terrible weather, and he ultimately succumbs to pneumonia. Well, now she is absolutely grieving. She is just angry. She is sad. She's frustrated. Like every one of those terrible emotions. And oh no, lo and behold, she's widowed a second time. So now she is down two husbands and down a child as well. So Eleanor is learning all of these things about Lady Duxbury, and she feels a kindred spirit, not about the husband's passing, but more about the having a child, the loss of a child, what that could feel like, and the fact that she's not alone in what she's been through. So it's more about bonding and knowing that she's not the only one who's had to go through this sort of situation. Um, well, ultimately, we do meet husband number three, and I'll come back to that. But so we've talked a little bit about Eleanor. We've talked about Lady Duxbury. Now we talk about Rose. Rose is not from here. She is what we'd call new money from America. So she's not refined in the ways that I guess the British aristocracy or high society may view themselves. And so even though she's got some money, her husband's brother does not look at her favorably, and he's an earl, I believe is correctly, and so she and her husband are trying their best to, I guess, be fairly good stewards of the house name, because he kind of holds the purse strings to a lot of the money. Even though she has some money, it's back in America, so she's not being looked on very favorably. Now her husband, I think Theo or Theodore, he does absolutely love her. This is a marriage for love. And so now she does question it every once in a while, wondering, like, is he going to give up his family name, or like sacrifice everything for love for her? What is he willing to do? Or would he throw her aside in order to appease his brother? Because her husband's kind of right in the middle between her, who he loves, and his brother, who he's trying his best to respect. And so she's kind of like, I don't want to say like fighting a losing battle, but definitely has some hurdles to overcome. Then finally we have Lavinia Cavendish. And Lavinia, now it says she is haunted by a dangerous family secret. The only thing I can think, and I think this is what's referenced, so if you guys read it and I am incorrect, what I interpret is that I think she is prone to potential madness, or someone in her family may be. And so, like, I'm not saying she's been in a sanatorium before, sanatorium, I don't know. But like, I guess that looms overhead, that I guess large outpouring of emotion. But through Lady Duxbury's kind of guidance, she's able to find an outlet through writing poetry. And so that's really good for her. She also, during a couple of society events, runs across a gentleman who seems to have a similar level of passion within him, and they tend to hit it off pretty well. Now, their friendship is a really, really cool, like, it's a great friendship to show the bonding between these women. But this book is much more, it's much more dramatic than it is even really fiction. I know I read this book in about a day and a half. Like, I was able to read it very quickly. It is not that many pages. It was probably around 300 at the most. And I thought it was really, really well done, but it also highlights like that sense of oppression that the women had within this like societal time. The expectation placed on women by society, by their husbands, by their mothers. The only place of support that these women's got any level of kind of compassion appeared to be from this particular group themselves. Now, it does seem as though Lavinia's mother is a very gentle soul as well, because her mother seems to be very much on her side. And if you read the book, I think you'll understand why. And so she's really glad to have that support. So I don't want to, I don't think it's a spoiler, but I'm going to save that nugget of what's happening, like with regards to Lavinia and her mother, for you all to figure out. But there is definitely some dramatic updates or dramatic points in the end. I think I said updates because as I was kind of scrolling to get down here towards the bottom, it says updated. And I was like, whoops, I just said that word. Did not mean to say that. But I do see that if you go to Goodreads, the very first pinned comment is by by the author, Madeline Miller. And so, like, she's got several updates. And so just wanted to put that out there, that if you would like to see anything from her, any of her comments about this book or anything of that nature, please go onto Goodreads and find it. I assume that potentially you can find more information if she has a website. Of course, like I said, I'm on Goodreads, so I'm not 100% positive, but it does say she has a book tour coming, so that's pretty cool. And I didn't click to see if I do see right here that it says she's going to Alabama, but I don't know where in Alabama. And it says a couple of virtual events too. So if this book sounds something up your alley, then you should definitely look it up. But dramatic moments towards the end and a pretty good finish. I was very impressed. I was very pleased. So I'm certainly going to give this book probably a 4.25 stars. When it comes to secret book societies, I like that this one had such an impact on these women. It was probably less about books, though, than it was about the bonding and friendship between the women and what the books actually meant for these women. So just kind of putting that out there as well. But with all of that being said, I think I'm going to go ahead and leave this here because I don't want to spoil anything else. If there's spoilers throughout this, I truly do apologize. I really try to keep those to a minimum when I can, but also I do get to talking sometimes. So, but thank you so much for joining me on this journey. If you have not liked and subscribed already, I hope you will. And I will see you all on the next page. Have a great one.